Most shooters know that certain ammo works better with specific rifles. In this magnum opus I aim to find the best 5.56 round for my rifle. Spoiler, it's Ukrainian STS ammo. Check out these two groups with .3 MOA accuracy, where shots practically landed bullet on bullet. If you disagree or confused, let me start from the beginning. Our whole universe was in a hot, dense state that It's me, I'm 27 years old, with 4 years of experience as backend software developer and 2 years as an AR-15 operator. My first rifle was expectedly an AR-15 and EVZ-1. Back then I knew this is a decent rifle, the 4 rules of gun safety, and that with some cartridges the rifle shoots more accurately, but I lack the skills to figure out which ammo worked the best. Gradually I became more interested in the topic and started attending shooter gatherings. There I met many beginners like myself, professionals and just knowledgeable people. They pointed out that my rifle had an overgasing, so I bought the only available loading gas block at the time and took it to the workshop. Here I am trying to raise the barrel, and as you can see the upward movement is minimal compared to the downward movement. I also recommend checking your rifles to ensure attachment bolt don't touch the gas block. This might seem off topic, but please bear with me, it all will make sense by the end of the movie. Testing setup. Rifle EVZ-1 15 with a free floated nitrated barrel and new Strike Industries gas block installed by me. Twist rate 1:8 with around 1000 rounds fired. £1.5 pound jarred trigger, bipod FAB defense spike, optic Sightmark Citadel used 30x modification for half shots and 6x for other half with dynamic modification block, plus a book of accuracy factors. Testing involved shooting from seated position with bipod and rear back in an indoor range at 50 meters in bench rest style setup. You can learn more about the methodology on Tarasa Linux channel. I will leave all links under the video. I fired about 20-30 rounds of each brand in groups of 5, testing in random sequence to avoid bias, trying to make the research as blind as possible. Goals: determine how muzzle device affect accuracy and use the best one, assess the whether accuracy decreases with a lower magnification scope, and finally find the optimal round with the best cost to accuracy ratio. Let's start with muzzle devices and accuracy. MBT conducted a similar test, and they found out that muzzle brakes generally improve group size by about 10% and reduce recoil by 50%. However, as they sell muzzle brakes, their data might be biased, since they might have simply not shown the failed groups, so I decided to test it by myself. As the famous Ukrainian writer Darshachenko once said, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Actually, my primary concern was whether using the suppressor would negatively affect accuracy and whether my muzzle brake was correctly installed. I had an issue where the muzzle brake wasn't sitting straight. A funny fact that the installation of my muzzle brake was performed by the same company that manufacture Hunter Arms ammunition, and after this installation funny sparks have appeared, and I had to either grind down the crush washer by one turn or get the custom crush washer made. It took 3 attempts at the workshop to get it right, because first 2 times it kept losing over time, as the gunsmith was afraid of over-tightening it. When I tried to tighten it myself with my wrench, it was over-tightened to the 9 o'clock position. Speaking of the muzzle brake, the muzzle brake I have installed is a replica of the AJC Titan, also known as the GPN DHK. I chose this model thanks to a fellow enthusiast shooter who went to the trouble of buying and testing 44 different muzzle brake models, measuring how much the setup moved during the shot. You can find the links below the video. And yes, I understand that with 223 caliber the recoil isn't strong enough to warrant using the best muzzle brake, but I also like this one purely for its visual appeal. I also decided to make 10 groups with the stock flash hider, specifically the standard military birdcage. As a result, there is 4 main configurations of muzzle devices: nothing, bare barrel, birdcage, suppressor, and muzzle brake. I will be comparing the coefficients of accuracy improvements or deterioration with different devices using different cartridges. And finally, I'm at the range, so let's get shooting. We are now looking at the table where the accuracy with the bare barrel is highlighted with bright yellow. The accuracy itself is measured in MOA. The smaller the value, the less dispersion, meaning better accuracy. The birdcage A2 is highlighted in gray, the suppressor in green, and the muzzle brake in blue. Groups of 5 shots are bright, while groups of 3 shots are faint and are not included in the final coefficient. Groups of 4 shots are also faint and not included. If there are only one group, it also marked as faint and doesn't affect the final coefficient. Groups marked in red indicate when the suppressor got very hot, causing such a mirage that even a fan couldn't help. Speaking of portable fans, they are a useful tool that helps during power outages and when the air conditioner isn't working. I highly recommend it, especially if you are at the range and your targets can shoot back. If we analyze all the coefficients without considering the faint cells, we will see that in 90% of cases one parameter is either better or worse than another. The group that stands out the most is marked in maroon. That might even lead us to believe that the certain muzzle devices, certain cartridges could perform better, but we will talk more about this GG55 group later. The final values relative to the bare barrel as the worst configuration are: birdcage 6% better accuracy, muzzle brake 26% better accuracy, and suppressor 39% better accuracy. Unfortunately, according to my tests, the suppressor provides the best accuracy, and why unfortunately? Because I'm not particularly fond of getting blasted in my face by gases and other residues. I also tested how accuracy changed as the suppressor heated up. Here we can see that after 16th shot, accuracy degraded by about 1.5 times, both with precise Sierra bullets and less accurate Hunter Arms bullets. Is this a lot or a little? It's hard to say, because on another day the subsequent group after the 20th shot were on 1.5 times tighter than before. Another point that after the 16th shot, the suppressor got so hot that my portable fan couldn't blow away the mirage, which further reduced accuracy. Therefore, I marked these groups in red on the table and didn't include them in any calculations. So, can I say with 100% certainty that after the 16th shot the suppressor heats up to the point where the groups start to fall apart? No, because there were only 2 groups and a mirage appeared that even the fan couldn't dispel. Can I say with certainty that up to 60 shots the groups will definitely not fall apart with this suppressor? Yes, they definitely won't fall apart, at least with my suppressor, as the STS group just before the Hunter Arms showed excellent accuracy. Will you see the same accuracy improvements or thermal effects with your suppressor? That's uncertain, even if you buy the same one I have, and even this is problematic, because I have the first version, which differs in weight and appearance. It is evident that the suppressor affects the gases that escapes behind the bullet. This process are described by the gas dynamics. However, gas dynamics are quite complex, and the processes occurring in the suppressor usually start on supersonic flow and end on the subsonic flow. At the same time, shock waves are reflected, and when these waves hit the suppressor walls, they reflect differently because the flows can be either laminar, the entire flow moves together without dispersing, or turbulent, verticals are forming near obstacles. In simple terms, if we vent all the gases as much as possible before the bullet leaves the barrel, fewer gases will affect its stability, improving accuracy. I also felt that the suppressor somewhat reduced recoil. A reduction in recoil should improve shooting comfort and accuracy. However, in reality, suppressor usually increases recoil, especially with magnums. In smaller calibers, the added weight of the suppressor merely smooths out the recoil over the time, but the lowest recoil will be with the muzzle brake, no matter how expensive and advanced your suppressor is. Recoil might seem to occur after the shot and should not affect the bullet, but to prove the opposite, I suggest watching the video of applied ballistic. Here it can be seen that the barrel indeed moves even before the bullet exits the barrel. According to Brian Leeds, a professional ballistician, a retrieval barrel deviation of 0.1 mm will result in a Bellot deviation of 0.75 MOA on a target. This factor also explains why with the same sight 0, a shooter weighted 100 kg might experience a left shift, while one weighing 60 kg might experience right shift, and when using vice, the bullet will hit the dead center. Regarding shooting position, when standing with tripod you get one point of impact, sitting with bipods you get another, just laying down a third, or laying down while using stock as a pillow because you can lie with your head for long gives you a fourth point of impact. How do people perceive firearms? Usually they think it's like a laser gun, where the bullet goes exactly where the barrel is aimed. More educated people understand that this is not the case, because after a certain distance, the bullet drops and the hits follow a normal distribution. In reality, should dispersion resemble a bivariate distribution, where the first general parameter is the quality of the barrel and the second is the shooter aim and precision. In other words, we're equally likely to hit the red area with the barrel and just as likely to hit the green area with aiming. So there may be a situation where the barrel shifts right, and our aiming accidentally compensates for this, leading to hit in the center. These occasional fires are not solely due to our mistakes, they happen because both barrel and we shifted right. For example, if we welded the barrel to a 50-ton tank, would the distribution then become normal, and could we select the most accurate cartridges? I will give you 5 seconds to think. The correct answer no. There are even 2 reasons for this. Since ancient times, people wondered if there was a moment when a horse lifted all 4 legs off the ground. And only in 1878 was this proven by a camera. Similarly, it may come as revelation to some of you that extremely strong metal barrels move as well.
Ох, и пламя, значит.
Слушай, что-то я не пойму, это воздух так это? Или ствол так изогнулся?
Ну, не может такого быть. Хорошо,
Ствол гнется.
Да ладно.
Гнется ствол.
Just as skyscrapers in Tokyo are designed to move, all modern rifles are made with free floating barrels to avoid disrupting their harmonics that affect accuracy. A barrel has a second-order harmonics and a zone of zero vibrations approximately 20% from the end of the barrel. Due to harmonics, a bullet can exit the barrel either at the peak of the oscillations or in between, which negatively affect overall accuracy. The former director of the Ukrainian company Berger explained the harmonics well in his blog. Okay, but how to tune these harmonics? By tuning the barrel itself or by initiating the oscillations, the cartridge itself. We can tune the harmonics on the barrel by changing the barrel, installing suppressor, or use a muzzle brake or barrel tuner. We can change the barrel entirely or, for example, shorten it yourself. With different barrel lengths, the same cartridge will show different bullet speed, barrel exit time, and thus different oscillation and accuracy. The longer the barrel, the more powder burns, and accordingly the higher the bullet speed. So if you see a flash from a bare barrel, it's an indication that you are not fully realizing the potential of the cartridge. It often happens that with a longer barrel and higher bullet speed, the accuracy might have been worse than with a shorter barrel. And I hope it's clear that in practice, changing the barrel just for this isn't advisable. And I hope it's also clear that if the barrel isn't free-floating or is welded, its shooting won't provide any practical value because its harmonics are too small and unsuitable for analysis at all. The same story applies to suppressors. In the first third of the cases, suppressor significantly improved accuracy. I was likely fortunate to have such a suppressor, but this is true only for my specific rifle. Even just adding extra weight to the rifle can also enhance accuracy. The director of Desert Tech explains this well in this video. In the second and the largest third of the cases, accuracy with the suppressor remains the same. I also have an example of this. I tested the integrated muzzle brake plus suppressor from Angry Fish system and the accuracy was identical whether using bare barrel, muzzle brake or a suppressor. For now we can compare its recoil and the sound with other muzzle devices within the scope on this section. In the last third of cases, a suppressor may decrease accuracy. Accuracy deterioration may occur due to low-quality suppressor, mounting it on crush washer, contamination, or its temperature. Although in video games, a debuff is often applied to a damage by reducing bullet velocity, in reality this isn't the case. This has been tested with various calibers in this video. It is clear that selecting suppressor is costly affair and lacks the granularity to find the right harmonics. That's why people came up with tuners and muzzle brake tuners. The idea is to shift the weight point of the barrel, changing its harmonics. This method does work, but it's easy to fool yourself into thinking that you have found the right harmonics. Many videos show people firing 2 or 3 shots with each setting and then drawing conclusions. Even more people are eager to believe that there is some magical method or mystical spell that will make any rifle accurate. In reality, a single group cannot definitely indicate whether accuracy has improved or worsened, as shown in this video. Interestingly, in precision shooting competitions, even where muzzle brake tuners are allowed, real professionals don't use them. The most popular and surprisingly the most effective approach is to match ammunition to the barrel harmonics, and even better is to make ammunition by yourself. Usually different batches of cartridges are made, with each batch increasing power charge or adjusting the bullet sitting depth. In theory, you should see the group gradually expand or shrink as a specific parameter of the load recipe increases, but as always, that's just in theory. In practice, it is impossible to accurately determine if you hit the right resonance or if the accuracy has improved based on just 2 or 3 shots. Shooters who gauge accuracy in this manner are no different from ancient tribesmen, predicting the outcome of the war based on the entrails of sacrificial animals.
I have a lot of these. I got a big stack. They're all pointless. It's painful, I know. But I wish you well.
Reloading isn't a panacea. Factory ammo can never beat a good handload, but most handloaders can beat a good factory ammo. What I'm trying to say, if you purchase a cheap reloading kit, you are unlikely to find the best cartridge recipe for your rifle right away. Finding the right reload recipe isn't like picking a lock, where each pin presents components of recipe. It's more like a random sorting method because each aspect of reloading affects all others. A big issue is powder selection. For example, scales of measuring powder can be explosively inaccurate. When a shooter reloads, they invest a lot of time and money into the process, so they will often unconsciously believe their work is better than the others, even subconsciously aiming better or dismissing inaccurate groups. For instance, if they finally find a super recipe for their barrel, they will make 5 cartridges and 4 bullets land in the same hole, while one is a fire. The shooter might attribute the fire to a bad shot, and then they start telling that they have one whole gun. But we will talk about accuracy, or more specifically its factors, in the second video.